Good evening, folks. This is The Weird Part. I am your host, Vincent Treewell, and tonight I have a very special guest, medium Jonna Kay. Welcome, Jonna.
Hi. Hello.
Yes, we are happy to have you here in The Weird Part, and I will proceed to pepper you with a few questions. Um, First of all, thank you for your time. I know you have a very busy practice and are doing mediumship almost every day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do readings probably, I don't know, I would say at least 28 days out of the month.
Wow. Wow.
Mhm.
That's a lot of
Yes.
contact. Yes.
I
Um,
very seldom have a day off.
wow.
Hmm.
How did you become involved with receiving messages from those who have passed on? Was this an innate ability or something you cultivated or both?
I mean, I honestly don't have a big grand like I saw dead people when I was a kid story. I honestly had a loss in my life in my early 30s. I was 30 actually. And it just took me down a really dark, awful path. And then I went through a spiritual awakening. But I had been getting readings since I was like 18.
Wow.
And I had been playing around with tarot cards all through my 20s. So that stuff was not different for me. But the spiritual awakening part in my 30s, early 30s, was crazy. And that's when weird things started happening, where I would mention a song and it would come on the radio, or I would mention somebody and they would knock at my door or call me. And, this was way before, this was still with landlines and, like when people would just pop over to your house still, you know what I
Yes,
mean? And
yes.
yeah,
Yes, I did grow up in an analog world, and yes, it was very
yeah.
different.
And I had a little boutique and I would mention the name of somebody and then they would walk right in. And so it was just a very weird time where I was like starting to think there's something to this. Like, and because I had a boutique and I was a former hairdresser and I had a salon in my basement at one time and I did daycare and I'm a business person at heart and I know how to turn hobbies into businesses. I was like, I think I know what to do with this.
Yes.
Hmm. And I
Wow.
did.
Does
So
yes, that's really an impressive accomplishment.
thank you. I mean, just that part of my brain knew what I could do. And so I just took what my little favorite hobby and ran with it.
You find the right job, you never are really working. So the saying
Right.
goes, but you're still kind of really working.
I
Uh,
am, but I really enjoy everything I do.
well, that's good. That's really good.
Yeah.
Do does this kind of ability run in your family at all?
Well, let me just tell you, my mother, we used to say she would give bad news without knowing she was giving bad news.
Huh.
And she would like turn on the radio and say, I wonder who died today. And remember, local radio stations,
Oh yes.
I don't know if your mom was the same way, but my mom would turn on the local radio station in the kitchen and get the weather and like the local news on the radio station. You'd have, we used to call them Bert and Ernie, like, the two guys in the morning that would give you the local yokel shit.
Yes, we
And
KFIZ out of Fond du Lac. We listened to it all the time growing up. Yes.
yeah, and they do their thing. And but they gave you the real local stuff. And so every time she said that, like, I wonder who died today or something, it would be somebody we knew really
Wow.
well.
Wow.
And so she was like the grim freaking reaper. And it was like always something really dark with her. And I used to say I couldn't skip school because my mother would drive up upon us wherever we were. And back then you walk around, smoke a joint, go back to school. And she would catch us every time. It was like she had a GPS and I don't know how she did it. So I always said she was psychic in the worst way.
The worst way for you as a kid, yes.
Yes, yes. But she was kind of moody and dark and depressed.
Mm.
So I think she tapped into like those really like, not the good stuff.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Kind of like a negative energy type of thing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We
Wow.
used to Moody Judy. Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
wow.
Yeah. Cloud of Doom is what one of my friends used to call her. So,
Wow.
oh
Uh-huh.
yeah. Yeah.
It's just
Not like most positive.
uh-huh.
Editor.
It's just interesting that sometimes those like wild talents, you might call them, do follow like a family, or a bloodline or something. It's kind of strange.
Well, she looked like a gypsy. She had
Hmm.
the black eyes, the dark hair, the olive skin, and she was 100% Swiss, but
Huh.
from the part of Switzerland that borders Italy.
Hmm.
And, she had that gypsy look. And, I don't know. I don't know, like, if there are Swiss gypsies or Italian gypsies, or if that's from that area. I don't know, because that's more Bohemia, isn't it?
Yeah,
Romania?
you got me there. I really don't know
I
that
think
much
it's like
about the Roma people.
Romania, Bohemia. Yeah, I think that's more that direction. But who knows? Who knows I mean,
Mhm.
gypsies were probably all over Europe.
At one time, I believe so. Yes. Well, kind of around the world, as they're referred to today, the Roman people were international.
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
kind of
it
a
would be
thing.
kind of fun to do a whole deep dive on gypsies and find out like all kinds of things. But yeah, yeah.
So
But she
did you?
looked like a gypsy. And I mean,
Huh.
I have real dark eyes too, like she did.
We're
But
on audio, but yes, I can definitely tell that you yes
yeah,
you have very dark eyes. Yes.
yeah.
Oh,
Hers were black.
huh. Huh.
Mhm. So I
Growing
don't know.
up,
Go
growing
ahead.
up and with your mom and everything, did you have any weird experiences as a youth, as a child? I mean, like psychic type things?
No, I mean, I read a lot of books on the subject in the 70s, anything I could get my hands on. How old are you?
I'm 52.
Okay, so you're kind of young. I'm I'm 58, and so my first book I read, um, and I was a really avid reader, so I read everything I could get my hands on. And there were a lot of books where I'd hear my mom say, "Don't let Jonna read that," because I had older brothers and sisters, and the books would get passed around from my mom to my brother, my sister, and then I would try and read it if I could get my hands on it, and they'd be like, "No, no, no, she's too young." And there was a book that turned into a movie, and I think it was called The Reincarnation of Peter Proud.
That rings a bell from a
It was
70s. Yeah.
a mid-70s kind of thing. And I really wanted that book. And I searched high and low in the house and finally got it and read it like in the bed with a flashlight. And and that was my first experience understanding reincarnation, even though it was not a true story, it was fictional, but it really put me in a deep dive on anything I could get my hands on in the mystical realm. And I was
Yes.
probably in fifth grade. So
Oh,
19,
wow.
no, maybe sixth grade. So like 1976-ish.
Oh, yes. The middle of the, 70s occult revival type of
Yes,
time.
absolutely.
That's
Absolutely. And then I think the movie came out in like 1978 or 79. So, and I remember watching the movie. Somehow I was able to see the movie.
I
But yeah,
and I know I've seen it. It's just been a while. But yeah,
super
that I remember
70s
that
cheesy,
fascinating.
like really cheesy. Yes. They didn't want me to see that, but they let me watch Trilogy of Terror at
Oh,
like 10 years,
yes. And that can be genuinely scary when you're a kid.
10 years old. Yes.
Yes.
Mhm. So go figure. Yeah, we watched Helter Skelter as a family, but and Trilogy of Terror, but yeah.
Hey, it's amazing some of the things that were acceptable and not acceptable at different times. It's
Oh, I know.
it
I
is.
know. But I think because of the subject matter, and like you said, mid 70s occult, it was very like not churchy, and it was
Mhm.
a whole other
Oh yeah.
ballgame.
Oh yeah. People
Mhm.
were looking at this very seriously and taking it as, hey, what else is out there? What's available? What can I tune into, tap into? Yeah, that was very much of the time. Yeah.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
Now you mentioned having a boutique and eventually being able to do mediumship full time. Let me just pick your brain a little bit. What are some of the most noteworthy like messages you've received?
There's so many. I mean, I don't know if you
You've
noticed,
done many,
it's
yeah.
because I've done over 20,000 readings on my Facebook
Yes,
page, and
yes.
I have done probably more like 25,000 readings.
Wow.
So, I mean, let's just talk about today, for instance.
Okay. Yes, by all means.
So today, my last reading of the day, I'm reading for a gal, and her dad is coming through, and I'm bringing her dad through. And I said, why is he showing me aviator cop glasses? He's showing me the sunglasses. He's actually pulling them down and looking at me like this.
Hmm.
And her and her daughter start laughing. And they said, well, my dad was a cop.
Huh.
And I'm like, oh my God, like that just gave me chills.
Uh-huh.
And because he was able to show me in my mind's eye those glasses, and he was looking at me like, girl, you're doing something wrong. And yes, my tags are overdue. So yes, he's like, get those tags. And so then I have a studio. It's a really big studio that I do readings in. And in the back corner, I felt like I was hearing somebody yell, Cindy, Cindy, Cindy. And I said, well, who's Cindy? And she says, oh my God, we were just talking about her on the way here. We didn't know if her husband would come through, but her husband died. And I
Oh
said, well,
man.
he is trying to come through and let her know, that he's here. And we talked about her for a little bit. So that was kind of crazy. So that was just today,
Yes,
you know.
yes.
Yeah.
And you get some quite detailed messages on a fairly regular basis, do you not?
Every day.
Okay.
Every day. Yeah.
Mhm.
And they just come through in such a fun and weird way. Like I had one. And so a lot of my stories are on TikTok. If you go on my
Okay.
TikTok, I tell psychic stories all the time. So,
Okay, that sounds fascinating.
um, yes. And so I was doing a group reading, and I bring people on stage, and I brought these two sisters up, and I was like, I was bringing the aunt through, and I'm like, did she have horses? They're like, no, no. I'm like, what the hell? I feel like there was horses. I said, are you sure? I said, I feel like I'm seeing a horse named Lucky. And they both went, oh my God, that was her horse's name. We forgot she had a horse named Lucky. Now I get
Wow.
names. I know I get names, but I never freaking expect to get a horse's name, especially a
Uh-huh.
name like Lucky.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
And they've just told you there's no horses. Oh, except that horse. Yes.
Yeah, except that one. Yeah. I was in um Kenosha. I did a group, and I had a woman on stage, and I'm like, your son keeps showing me Elvis is all around him, all around him. And she goes, my son was not an Elvis fan. He was only 22 when he died.
Mhm.
He was not an Elvis fan. I'm like, well, he's showing me like the Jungle Room, and he's showing me like the black felt paintings, and it's all cheesy Elvis stuff. Like Elvis is everywhere.
Uh-huh.
And my dog is losing her mind. And she's like, I don't understand why my son would show you Elvis. And I was like, I got 50 people in the audience.
Uh-huh.
And Venus, come. Anyway, I finally gave up on it. I said,
Uh-huh.
I gotta let this go. I felt like I was arguing with her. I kind of looked like an idiot in front of the audience. And it was that night because we were staying at the Stella. The show was at the Stella in Kenosha.
Okay.
And I get a message from her on Facebook and she says, I am so sorry. She says, I just remembered that my son was in Graceland 2 weeks before he died.
Oh, wow. Wow. So he was at Elvis's house like 2 weeks
Elvis
before.
was
Wow.
everywhere.
Yes.
Yes.
That would be among his last memories on this earth. So it's like, wow,
Yes.
that is quite something.
Yes.
I thought you were going to say somebody else in the room was just really thinking about Elvis, but okay, wow,
No,
there
Elvis
was a
was
real
literally
connection.
everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
And those are things that, there's no explanation that you can give, but they happen,
Right. Right. I mean, it was the craziest thing, and she felt so bad because the audience was like, "Oh, she's messing up. She doesn't know what she's saying." But really, in essence, it was right on the money.
Oh, yes. And if you're going to fake something, you wouldn't bring up Elvis under those circumstances. That's not how you do it. That doesn't,
No.
that nobody sets out to, make themselves look foolish. That's no.
Right. Right. And with that many people in a room, like, why would you?
And often the real is not as smooth as the fake, because sometimes the real has, sticky parts that don't fit, but it's still real.
I got to tell you another one. I'll tell you another fun one.
Yes, please.
So a lot of my stuff comes from pop culture. So when I get names and stuff like that, it's from pop culture. I'll get TV shows, or I'll hear a song, or I'll see like Greg Brady or Peter Brady or whatever. And that's how I get a name. I'm like, who's Pete? And they're like, oh, my Uncle Pete. So anyway, I'm reading for this guy in Waterford, Wisconsin. I get all over Wisconsin. So I'm doing a group at Docs on the Fox in Waterford. And I'm reading for his wife, but then I start picking up, like, I can't remember if it was a motorcycle accident or whatever it was. It might have just been a car accident. And I said, do you not finish projects? And the guy's like, no. And the wife's like, no, he finishes everything. And I'm like, I just feel like something is showing me, I don't know. I said, let me just tell you what I'm seeing. I said, I'm seeing the episode of Roseanne where Ziggy comes to town and they lift up the tarp and the guy starts crying. The guy starts bawling. The woman's like, oh, and the guy goes, that's my best friend's name is Ziggy.
Oh, man.
That's the guy who died.
It doesn't.
So that's how they plant the information in my head to get me to say it.
It doesn't surprise me really that much that in today's world where pop culture is ever present, that messages would be conveyed in terms that we can understand.
I just had a Japanese beetle drop in front of me. That's crazy. Yeah.
That's how people think.
Thing for me, my spirit guides know, like, so they filter it to my spirit guides who filter it to me in a way I recognize it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Since could you elaborate a little bit on spirit guides, what they are, how you got yours, like how that works?
Oh, we all have spirit guides. All of us do. We're born with them. And I mean, I meditated to meet mine and get to know them and work with them. And I made some deals with them on how I would work with them and how I would understand information. And, spirit guides will only work so much with you. They're not going to do everything. You got to be able to do the work. So, but, I mean, my first spirit guide showed me himself almost looking like Aladdin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. Just that Eastern kind of dark hair, white teeth, dark skin look. And, he gave me his name but his name didn't come to me until 3 days after the meditation when he showed himself to me. And then, this is crazy, I'd never heard the name. I didn't even know if it was a real name. Like, it didn't sound like anything I'd ever heard before. And this is back in the days where you read the newspaper. It got delivered to your door. And I was reading the newspaper a couple days later, and someone down the street had applied for a liquor license at the gas station down the street under the same first name.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and they were Eastern, and I
Uh-huh.
was like, "How does that happen?"
Uh-huh. Wow, that is a true synchronicity there.
Well, every
There's
one of my
probably not.
guides no,
Uh,
every one of my guides has showed me in writing a few days later their name.
wow.
Their
Wow.
name has literally showed up in writing after they've given it to me in meditation. So, sorry, I'm putting do not disturb on my phone.
No problem.
So then I know that what they've given me is real.
Yes. Now, are they the spirits of people who have lived before, or are they a different kind of spirit?
I am sure that they spent time on Earth. I'm sure they have, but they've evolved so high that they, have become spirit guides and help people on their life's journey.
So they mostly live at a different plane, but they can come down and interact with us. They can.
Yeah, I mean, how they interact with me, I feel like, yes, they do kind of, give me what they're kind of like, okay, she's playing again. Let's help her. Like, here she goes again. She needs some help. Yeah. I mean,
a,
that's how it feels to me. Like they're like, okay, here she goes.
a
You
bit
know,
like a guardian angel. Not exactly the same thing, but somewhat like that.
somewhat. I think guardian angels can actually be more physical with you and like help you stay safe. Like if you're in a car accident,
Oh,
things like that.
okay.
Yeah.
Um, that's something I was going to ask you. In your experiences, do you only encounter people who are people like us, except they have died physically, or do you get other spirits who've
Okay.
not had bodies?
So that's the one of the deals I made with my guides.
Okay.
And Archangel Michael, I only go to the light. I only work in the light. I don't want to do the paranormal shit. I did that years ago, and it is very hard to work in the light and in the dark.
Okay.
It very confusing. I don't like it. I don't like the way it feels. I don't want to work in the dark. I don't want to figure out the dark stuff. I figured out where it came from. I don't want to play with it.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Hmm, like just negative spirits.
People will call me and say they've got an entity in their house. I know it's not grandpa. I know it wants them to think it's grandpa,
Oh,
but
that
it's
would be a
not.
very scary situation. Yes, where you have an impersonating spirit that is trying
And
to
I
is
am not
malevolent.
going to go over there and I am not going to try and play with it because I know grandpa's safe on the other side.
Mhm.
Because I wouldn't be able to connect to him if he wasn't. Because I made that
Okay.
deal with my guides that I could only connect to what's safe on the other side.
So things that are lingering around here on
I'm not
Earth
playing.
are probably not something yeah, they're not what you want to be involved with. You're not a
I
ghost hunter, and I don't blame you. I
I
know people who
I'm
are, but
not.
that's not my
And
thing.
that's because of personal experiences that I've had.
Okay. Um,
Yes,
would you mind sharing any of those?
absolutely.
Yes, please.
So I did own a building that was very, very haunted. It had levitations. That was the boutique I had. And I had levitations. I had really scary things that happened in that building. And I had to get the hell out of there. So
Don't
I
blame you.
got the hell out of there. But I ended up moving into a house after that. And there was some weird things that happened there, but I burned a lot of sage. I burned a lot of incense. I called in Archangel Michael, as I do in every home I ever live in. And I was pretty comfortable in that home then. Like
Sure.
it felt pretty good. Um, yeah, no, my heart's starting to beat fast telling you the story. I astral travel, as many readers do. We all astral travel, but normally I call in Archangel Michael before I go to sleep. I ask him to keep me on the highest plane. I ask my guides to keep me safe. Don't take me anywhere where I don't belong, that kind of thing. But I'd had a couple drinks one night. Went home, didn't even go upstairs. I fell asleep on my sofa. And I woke up in sleep paralyzation.
Oh, wow.
Couldn't breathe, couldn't move, was being held down. But something was coming out of like my mouth and my nose.
Wow.
It was like physical.
Wow. Like a substance was actually like,
It felt like it. I don't know how to
wow.
explain it. And
That
next
would
thing I
be a
know,
horrible feel. That'd be like waterboarding, man. That's bad.
next thing I know, there's like this little man standing over me, looking at me like he's concerned about me. And I still can't breathe. I still feel like I can't get my breath. But there's this man, and he's like looking at me like he's harmless and concerned. And in my head, I'm screaming, "You have no right to be in my house. You have no right to be here. You have to get out of my house. You can't look at people when they're sleeping." Like I'm saying everything I can, like projecting. And so he starts backing up. This house had 18-inch limestone walls.
Oh, wow.
So my window wells were really thick. And I watched him go right through the wall.
Wow.
And then he was standing outside the window looking at me, and I'm starting to get my breath. But he changed outside the window and turned into like one of those weird looking trolls.
Oh, wow.
Now, he came through me.
He
And
came
through me.
like he went through physically, like he just walked like he
Like
weren't there.
I was astral traveling
Oh,
and
okay.
brought him here.
Oh, wow.
And had I not banished him, he would have been a dark entity in my house.
Wow. That is fascinating. Wow. And you wonder, what is that? Or at least I wonder, what is
Well,
that?
it's a spirit from another plane
Uh-huh.
that when I was astral traveling, I picked him up.
He
Now,
followed you home.
and he tried to disguise himself as a harmless old man.
Oh, wow. So he looked like a little guy, like a gnome, kind of.
He looked like a under the bridge kind of troll when he was outside my window.
Oh, wow. Wow.
But he looked like the sweetest old man when he was standing over me.
Wow. That that is fascinating. He's wearing a mask just to give a certain impression.
So that I would be like, "Oh, this is harmless.
Uh-huh.
I'm okay with it. He must belong to the house."
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. But not the case, and not what you want around at all.
No.
Wow.
That's why I say I know where it comes from now. And you I don't want to be in charge of getting rid of that.
No, that can be quite a task. I know some people who
And
do deal with that stuff, and it's very demanding.
right. And what plane did it come from? Where was I astral traveling? I'd had drinks that night.
Mhm. And you just kind of went someplace you shouldn't have.
Yeah, I didn't do any protection when I fell asleep.
Wow. That
Mm-hmm.
that is really interesting.
Yeah.
That's and I take it that probably wasn't the only time that ever happened, or the
I
worst.
I've woke up and felt things in the room, but not had that sleep paralyzation.
I was
But
I was yeah.
I've talked to other people, and I would love to know. We could do a whole podcast on sleep paralyzation and talk to
Oh,
people who
yes.
happen, because everyone I know who's had that happen has seen a spirit.
Wow. Because yes, that's a huge topic. And I
Mhm.
know a number of people who've had it on a somewhat regular basis.
Yeah.
And
And then they have all
some,
kinds of crazy shit happen in their house.
oh yes, yes. And some have linked it to alien abduction.
Oh, I
And
believe in that too. I do believe that that is alien abduction when you are astral traveling. And yes, 100%.
they
Hmm.
like kind of take your astral body and take it somewhere and do
Yes,
stuff. And it's terrifying to a lot of people, you know.
100%. I totally believe that. I've
Wow.
said that for years, that that is when people, because they always say it happens at night when they're sleeping. So,
Yes.
oh my gosh,
And
you are
it's
so
it's
collected.
such a weird combination of factors because I've never had the kind of sleep paralysis of which you describe and which people, including people I know quite well, describe. I had it once, but it was purely physical. It was almost like a medical condition. I'd been working a lot of odd hours. Like I'd work a day shift and then a night shift and then a second shift and then like a double shift. And um my sense of timing was all off. My I'm thinking of the rhythm, the circadian rhythm was just shot to hell. And one day I'm sleeping, it's about 7:30 at night, and I've got to go to work that night. And I wake up and I realize that my brain's awake, but my body's still asleep. But there's no terror. There was no entities. I was just there by myself in my bedroom, and I realized my brain's awake, my body's asleep. Just go back to sleep. And I just went back to sleep. So that to me is like what the physical sleep paralysis would be like. Everything else
There's
is something
a
very
whole
different.
other kind of astral travel too.
What's that?
There's a whole other kind of astral travel I've experienced.
Oh, please.
So I was in Florida at a resort, and my son had just walked out of the room, and I was laying on the bed and I was meditating, and I felt my crown chakra pop open,
Oh boy.
and I felt myself shoot out. It was like a plunger feeling. I don't know how else to explain it. Like a plunger pulled me out.
Wow.
And then I swear to God, I was 3 feet off the ground and I flew out. I saw my son in the parking lot talking on the phone, and I flew all over in swamps, over
Wow.
lakes, and I was like 3 feet off the ground. I could feel the cool air on my
Wow.
body. I mean, I could go up and down. It was the weirdest feeling, but
And
it
were
was
you in control of it or
not really like, but it was really pleasant. Like
uh-huh.
sometimes I could control it and sometimes I couldn't, but it was super, super like cool and pleasant.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. That's very interesting. I have had extremely few paranormal or unexplained experiences, very few. But one that does stick in my mind because it's just so odd was when I was 7 years old. I woke up and there was a woman in my room floating about 3 feet off the ground in what I called a yoga position. Like,
Oh,
like
yeah.
now the term's escaping me, but where you
Like on
are
a magic
cross-legged.
carpet. Yeah.
Yes, yes, exactly. And
Mm-hmm.
she's just floating there. And it wasn't a nightmare. And she was just a normal person. But it's like once she could realize that I could see her, then she broke out of that position and walked right through the wall and was gone. And I did I didn't know who she was. I didn't know anything about her. And I think she was honestly probably just some random person who was astral traveling and wound up at a
And
random
that
location.
happened too. That very much can happen.
Wow.
I have had dreams where I'm in someone's house and I know I'm not supposed to be there. And I know I'm traveling in a house. Like, and I should not be there. I am so sorry about my dog.
Oh no, that's fine. That's
She
fine.
is everywhere.
They like to be a part of the part of whatever you're doing.
I
Yes.
warned you she was going to get the zoomies. She's been sleeping all day. Yeah. And she is wild girl. So, yeah. So yeah, I've had dreams where I've been in a house and nobody can see me, but I know I shouldn't be there. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I shouldn't be in this house. And I'll be getting into their bed and I shouldn't be in their bed. Like, it's so weird. Yeah.
That's really strange. And
Yeah.
I think once in a while it's just kind of random. And, I saw this person and it was no significant event to me. I knew it wasn't a dream. I absolutely 100% knew it was not a dream, but it wasn't scary and it wasn't like a big deal, but that's what happened. It was very, very strange. It only happened once, never saw her again. And wouldn't have noticed her if I walked past her at the mall. She was a total normal looking person. And somehow she was meditating and she ended up at my house. It's very strange.
Did you have an older home?
Oh yes. The part where yes, it'd been around quite a while.
I mean, sometimes there's an energy, kind of residual energy too.
Mhm.
So you never know if you had that could have been residual energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's possible. I have
Yeah.
no, nailed down explanation for what that was. And it only
Yeah.
happened once. So I never had it, like I couldn't compare them to anything else.
Honey, can you get her and shut the door? Sorry.
No
She is
problems.
being a little asshole. Sorry. Thank you.
Little dogs, they do that.
I love her to death, but work is work. So yes, that was one of the weirdest experiences I ever had. And the Beast of Bray Road is not far from here.
Oh wow, okay.
It's about 15 minutes away from me. But I also attribute that to third eye and Bigfoot. I think some people can see those things with their third eye and some people can't.
That would make a lot of sense to me.
Yes.
I was actually doing an investigation on Bray Road a few months ago, and I didn't see anything. But a companion who was with me, who's more psychically sensitive, was really freaked out by it and was like, "It's here. No, it's here. I know it's here." And we're looking around, we're shining a light around, and we didn't, come up with anything physical, but I
Again,
mean,
like
he could
aliens and
vouch that it was
all that
definitely there.
stuff, I do believe that if your third eye is tapped in, you're going to see it more so than somebody whose third eye is not tapped in.
Yes, I would, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
But
because I don't think Bigfoot is a physical being. I think that Bigfoot, again, comes from another plane, and only people with tapped in third eye sees it.
that makes a lot of sense. I've been around the board on that one. And to me, there's just no way that a physical creature, like just a gorilla evolved for colder climates, could live and we'd have a body.
That's
Living
what
or
I
dead,
would say.
we'd have a
We'd find
body.
a carcass. We would find a
Yes.
carcass. And people have told me, no, they bury their own. I'm like, bullshit. No, there would be a carcass. Somebody would hit it with a car. Like,
Yes.
there would be something because people hit bears with cars way up
Yes.
in Wisconsin. So somebody would have hit it with a car. I truly, truly believe that only people with really tapped in third eye sees that. And that's why some people can get a picture and some can't.
I had not thought of that angle, but yes, that's a good quote. Yeah, why can some people take a picture of it and some people cannot? It may be more to do with the photographer than it is with the being.
Right.
I think some people just come upon it like when it's uncloaked, just kind of at random, and then are really freaked out because if you're not, a spiritually developed, person who's got those abilities going, it's
Most
really, and you
people
see it, it's pretty
know.
shocking.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know their third eye is overdeveloped. They just get headaches all the time and they see lights out of the corner of their eye, but they don't know their third eye is really overdeveloped.
Well, chakras and kundalini energy and things like that, are not something that's like taught in school, in health class or something. And I have a friend of mine who as a youth had intense experiences, and it was Kundalini, but he had no idea because that wasn't part of the world that he grew up in, nor myself. People didn't
Mhm.
really know what that was. And it can really weird you out if you're having these experiences and you have no context for them at all. You
Right.
know,
And it can make you sick if you don't know how to shut it down.
yes, you have a lot of problems. Yes.
Yes. So, but I do believe that that is why some people have the experience and some people don't.
That makes a lot of sense.
But
Have
that's always been my argument is we'd have a body.
Yes, we'd definitely have a body. You'd have to have a certain minimum number of them. There couldn't be like just one. There'd have to be a breeding population.
And he
And
can't live forever. It can't be a
yes, they'd have to
600-year-old.
reproduce. Yeah.
Yes.
And something that big would eat an enormous amount, you know, and it would, to be blunt, it would
Come
crap an
into your yard
enormous amount.
with your dog.
Yes, yes. And if it was just a physical being, either it could be so rare that it'd only be in the middle of a forest somewhere where nobody ever goes, but then we'd never see it. Or we'd have the bodies if we saw it as frequently as people see it. So that's what,
Right.
either it could be in just the absolute middle of nowhere where there may be a physical
Right. I
creature we
mean, I
haven't
know
discovered.
the Pacific Northwest has, a lot of wooded foliage,
Mhm.
but still there's roads where somebody would have hit it with a car.
Absolutely. Yes. We'd have at least one, dead or alive. We'd have multiple ones
Right.
that. And that's where it kills the flesh and blood argument for me. um there's no way that they could get rid of all of them all the time. No, that
Mhm.
wouldn't happen. I think it's physical when people see it, but then it goes back to where it came from and it's no longer
Again,
here.
it was physical when I saw that little man in my house.
Do you think he was physical in at the time?
He looked physical.
And yes, he was putting a paralyzation and like a drowning experience on you. So yes, that's pretty physical. Yes. And then he was out of there and he was no longer as physical.
He
And
looked physical outside the window,
oh, okay. Okay.
but he changed his appearance.
Yes. That's really interesting. I wonder what then they go back through a portal to the plane they're from. I don't know. That's
I don't
a
know.
good that's why it's unknown, I guess, because we don't know
Right?
where they
I mean,
go. But
I was like, "Good, you're out of there. You stay out of my house. Like, you ain't
yes,
coming
yes.
back." Yeah.
Um, do you think that was one of the little people, or do you think like the
It was
fairy experience?
seen from another plane, and honestly, it looked like a troll, and I think there are other planes where dragons and fairies and things exist like that. Why do you
Yes,
think people look at aliens and they all look the same, or dragons all I think all that shit exists on different planes.
that makes a lot of sense. That yes, in a multiverse type of system, or there's another world, and I don't know if it's portals or how I don't know the mechanism, but they come here from somewhere else. They do stuff and then they go back to where they came from, is the
So,
impression I get.
I had a woman come to me years ago, and she says, "I have a little girl in my house, and she wants me to take care of her." And I said, "No, you don't."
Mm,
I said,
yeah.
"You have a dark entity, and it is gonna make you sick, and it's using you, and it's disguised as a little girl, and you need to get rid of it." And she says, "No, Jonna, you don't understand. It's a little girl, and she needs me." And I said, "Oh my God, this is not a little girl." And we kind of argued, and I said, "Okay, do what you want. I don't care. Like, this is your little girl. Have at it." And she says, "You don't understand. I've been to so many other readers who said it's a little girl." And I said, "Then why are you here?" Like, I don't know what to tell you. I said, "I will tell you my opinion is this is a dark energy and it is going to make you sick." And About 3 years later, I get an email and she says, I am so sorry. You are the only person who told me this was demonic, and I did not believe you, and you were right.
Wow. Wow.
She said
That
it
is
changed
fascinating.
in front of me.
Oh boy.
Yes.
And it, well, a real child would have gone on to the next
The other
world, you
side.
know?
Yes.
Yes. And there wouldn't, I'm always very leery of lingering children because I
They're
just don't think it
not
works
really
like that, you know?
right. Right. Yes.
You know, they would go on, whether it be to another life or to the afterlife. They're not going to be here. They're not going to be in your basement. They're not going to be there, you know?
No. No. And that's what I was trying to explain to her, and she's like, "No, no, no, it just needs a mother, it just needs me." And I'm like, "This is your ego talking, and you need to, like, realize that your own ego is speaking more than what you want here."
And
Like, this is yeah,
that
you
was
gotta
the fairy legends too, that they would impersonate a child so they could get the nurturing and the sustenance of a human and just drain that person dry.
Tinkerbell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I was thinking of the changelings, and I was thinking, a lot of the the Fey folk stuff, that they pretend to be one thing so they can absorb all of you that they can, you
Yes.
know.
And that's why, like, I've had clients who are like, "Oh, my brother was fine, and then he started changing, and now he's, like, mentally ill and wants to take his own life." And I'm like, "He has an attachment."
Wow.
And I have a shaman that I send people to when
Oh
they have
wow.
an
That I have never heard that before. Go ahead. How does that work?
I mean, she clears them. I don't clear people. I don't want no
Mhm.
part of that. I cleared one time, and it is scary as shit.
I believe that. Yeah. Wow.
But a lot of times these entities will attach to someone and they just suck the life out of them
How did, if you don't mind my asking, how did he get an attachment?
through this, like astral traveling, having
Uh-huh.
something come through, and then having, how can I say this? Some people will have addiction or depression or, not taking care of themselves properly.
Hmm.
And then that attachment latches on
Hmm.
and just sucks the life right out of them.
If you're kind of already somewhat vulnerable, this
Yes.
thing will prey upon you.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. That is that's a word to the wise, take care of yourself, watch your back dealing with these type of things. Yes.
Hmm.
Wow. Um, when you were saying you were doing meditation and meeting spirit guides, like what type of, do you follow a certain system, or like what can you tell us about that?
Well, I mean, I write my own meditations now. So, I mean, I do a spirit guide camp that I teach. And I take people to meet their spirit guides myself now.
Oh
I have
wow.
a studio and I can do that for people. So that's fun. Um, I mean, I used to do guided meditation. I still do sleep guided meditation when I can't sleep. So I'll turn on YouTube and just listen to that until I fall asleep. I always do chakra meditation every day and every night. I do it in the shower. I do it before bed. Just cleanse my chakras. I open up my chakras and um, open up the person's chakras that I'm going to read for and connect. Um, I ground all the time. So
Now,
you guys,
when you say chakras, I know what you're talking about, but could you just mention for our listeners kind of a quick and dirty version of what does chakras mean?
so chakras are metaphysical energy centers in your body. They are not physical, they're metaphysical. You don't have to understand them for them to work or not work.
Yes,
They
absolutely.
right. They are represented by colors and they're just these little energy centers. And when they're off, they're off. I mean, when they're not working, it's like a chain reaction. And a lot of times all of them aren't working if one's not working. So yeah. And I work with chakras on a regular basis. I teach chakra energy. I I'm just so fascinated by chakras because I say chakras never lie. So when I
Okay.
start a reading, I dive into the chakras and I'm like, oh, this is not right. This is not right. This is not right. And, this is what I'm feeling from your chakras. And it's a good starting point for me to get into somebody's energy.
Wow. And
Hmm.
so kind of the same way that we have cardiovascular system that, regulates the blood and the lungs, that's one system. And we have a nervous system that regulates, the electrical impulses from the spine and the nerves and everything. We also have a non-physical energy system that the chakras are the like major organs, you might say, where the energy, which might be called like chi or
Well, chi is
chai,
another word for energy. Yes. So say
flow
if
through.
you're not speaking your truth and you're in a relationship with an abusive man and you're not allowed to speak your truth and he just shuts you up all the time and you can't speak up for yourself. Eventually, because he's shutting down your throat chakra, your communication center, eventually you're going to have teeth problems, throat problems, mouth problems. It's going to manifest in that area.
Wow.
Hmm.
Wow. That's a heavy concept I have not been familiar with. Um, so it will start in the metaphysical and come into the physical world if
100%.
it's like jammed.
Yeah. I mean, think about your heart chakra. Your heart chakra is located right here. But think about your first heartbreak. It physically hurts your heart.
Yes, yes. People can literally die of grief, and yeah, that
I mean,
wow,
your first heartbreak physically hurts. I mean, yeah.
wow, that makes a lot of sense. That, you know, correlates with a whole lot of things. That yeah, that wow, that is very interesting.
Hmm.
Man,
It's not your imagination. People are like, oh, you can just make that happen with your imagination. No, no, you can't.
there's a it's not a physical body, but there's a maybe you might call it a subtle body or a metaphysical
Soul,
body.
soul body. Yeah. Your soul
Mhm.
body
That can be
is
injured as well, or can be,
your soul
not
body is
100%.
dreaming. Yeah.
Wow, that is fascinating. Um, if you don't mind my asking, what are your dreams like? What are your dream life? You must have some interesting stuff.
So my little white dog that you saw,
Yes, yes.
I had a dog years ago. I got him in 2004. His name was Jupiter. He was a rat terrier and he was the love of our life. He was the family dog. And my daughter was like 5 or 6 when we got him. And he grew up with her. And then we lost him in 2017. He passed.
Mm, yes.
And he came to me in a dream after he
Oh,
passed. And
wow.
he was a trick dog. I taught him all kinds of tricks. And she is too. I love to teach dogs tricks. And so he did all his tricks and I rubbed his belly. And when he ran off in the dream after that, he kind of ran off and he always turned around. He was like a little U shape when he'd turn around. It's almost like his head could touch his butt. And he turned around and I noticed he was with this little fluffy white dog. And I was like, oh, he's showing me my next dog.
Oh, wow.
And that was like a year after he died. So that was like in 2018.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, he's showing me my next dog. And I'm like, I want a pug. I'm not getting a frou-frou dog. I want a pug. I had my heart set on a pug. So a couple months ago, I meet this guy who had a business next door to me. And he's walking his dog. And I'm like, oh my God, you have a pug. And he says, yeah, her name is Luna. And she just had pups. And I'm like, oh my God, it's a sign, Luna, Jupiter, like I'm supposed to have a pug. So I'm like, oh my God. Well, I got to thinking, I'm like, I can't really have a dog right now. It's not time, blah, 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 blah. So then I go to the Mexican restaurant 3 doors down.
Okay.
And she says, I have Maltese puppies. Do you want one? I'm like, yeah, I do. 2 days later,
Uh-huh.
after the whole Luna thing. And I'm like, yeah, I do. I think I'm supposed to have one.
I just kind
And
of came into your life.
it was like, no, I wasn't supposed to have the pug. I was supposed to have the Maltese. So I got her
Oh.
because I remembered that he showed me that in a dream. Now, the funny part was is when I got attuned for Reiki like 3 years ago, my person who attuned me, my master teacher, she said, I had the weirdest dream about you last night. And I said, what was that? Now, back then, I was kind of a caramel blonde and I was
Okay.
60, 70 pounds bigger.
Okay.
And it was Mary.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Previous guest, Ari from Firefly Reiki. Yes. For
And Mary,
listeners that may have heard that episode.
so Mary says, your hair was darker and you were much thinner and you were holding a little white dog.
Wow. That is fascinating. Now that is a real look into the future somehow. Yes.
Yeah, because guess what? I am much thinner, my hair is darker, and I have a little white dog.
Wow. She seems to be able to look outside of time and see a different time at least in a dream state. That is really interesting.
Isn't that funny? And she says,
That
you were
is, that's
holding a little white
fascinating.
dog. And I said, well, and I didn't have the little white dog yet. And I said, well, I think I'm supposed to get that little white dog. That little white dog's waiting for me.
Wow.
And I knew that I would get this little white dog.
Uh-huh.
So then when they said, do you want a Maltese? I said, that's the dog I'm supposed to have.
Wow. And just all the changes coming together that she had seen before they happened. That is really interesting, man.
It is weird.
It is.
I know. Because I didn't even think about that when I started going darker with my hair. I just lost a lot of weight and I thought I need to change with my hair. You know, it's just one of those things.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, because when you lose a lot of weight, you just start thinking, I need to change things up.
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That is it's interesting because it's not something like it's not fortune telling. It's not somebody telling you this is, some big huge thing in your life. It's somebody seeing you in
the
future
yeah.
time. Yeah.
So
that's
now
really interesting.
Mary and I will go somewhere. Her and I will take off and go somewhere. We'll go to a restaurant and people will say, are you two sisters? We have never, ever gotten that before, but it happens all the time now.
I'll be very honest. When your video came on, I thought it. I didn't say it, but I did kind of think she did kind of look like Mary. Yes, you kind of look like Mary. Yes.
How funny is that? Yeah, people ask us all the time if we're sisters, but we never got that before. So yeah,
there is a resemblance. There is a definite resemblance. That's like,
well, see, she's Italian, and my mom comes from the part of Switzerland that's near Italy.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
that is exactly before you ever mentioned it. When the video came on, that was one of the first things I thought, that, gee, she does look a lot like Mary.
But it wasn't
I didn't see any point in saying it, but yes.
Yeah, it wasn't like that. Like with 70 pounds ago, with my caramel blonde hair, nobody would have ever thought that.
Wow, that's just an interesting turn of events there. That really is.
I know. So we get it all the time. People are like, you two must be sisters.
Life is weird,
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Just to shift gears a little bit, Let me ask you about divination. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Do you mean like
Well, I know you
cards?
mentioned tarot cards earlier.
Yeah,
And
I do
okay.
oracle, I do tarot. I have a pendulum. Um, back when I did do ghost hunting, someone had given me the divination rods or divining rods.
Oh, yes, yes.
Because when I first started doing this, I went to the Shawshank prison in Ohio and, did some
Oh,
things like that
wow.
before I really understood all this.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so I had some divining rods. I don't even know where those are. Um, but honestly, cards, I love cards. I have probably 60 decks of
Oh, wow.
oracle cards. I love the visuals.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, they're beautiful pieces of art.
Yeah.
In
I mean,
addition to the divination, yeah.
I can't begin to tell you how many decks I have. I have so many decks, and because Facebook Live, they work great. So people love the visuals. They love seeing, what card I pull for them. It's fun.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I've only had a few readings, but the ones I've had have always been like dead on. Like not so much a prediction of the future, but like a description of what's going on in my life right now. And
Absolutely.
and it's been eerily accurate, that yes, I could be seeing what I want to see, but no. This is
They
really
tell a
somebody
story.
seeing, yes. This
Yeah.
somebody is telling me my story of what's going on right now. And that's very impressive, you know. I've
I
witnessed
teach
that phenomenon.
tarot as well.
Oh,
So in
really?
my studio, yeah, I teach tarot because I've done it for so long that I'm able to teach it.
Mhm.
So, it's kind of fun to teach,
Oh, yes, absolutely.
get new
I believe
readers.
that. Uh-huh. And
Yeah.
that's it's for those who have not experienced that, it's something that you really have to have it to get how cool that is. It's stuff that nobody could have known, but it describes what's going on with you eerily well, you know.
And I mean, historically, tarot goes all the way back to the Bible and beyond. Like, there's so much with tarot that connects to the Bible. It's crazy.
Oh, wow.
Like, yeah.
That's an angle I'm not that familiar with. Um
Yeah. There's a lot of correlations to certain cards in the Bible and things like that.
hmm, wow. Um I don't want to put you on the spot. Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
There is a card, and I honestly would have to look up the exact part of this. Let me see if I can find the card. Um, but it does have something to do. Let me see. Where is my it's the world. It's the world, the card that is the world. And there is something to do with everything that is represented in that card that is represented in the Bible.
Oh, wow.
I would have to look up all of the
Some
everything
of
about
some of that's going to require some research that we don't. Yeah, maybe we do another
it.
time. But
There's
yes.
like an eagle on it. There's four corners on that card that hang on, I'm looking through my deck here. Might be the one my dog chewed up because she loves my cards.
Oh, man.
Yeah, she gets a hold of them and she rips them up. Um, but that particular card has representation in every corner, and there is something in the Bible about um that particular those four things that are represented on that card.
Would this be like the four-faced being in Ezekiel that has the face of a man, the face of an eagle, the face of, I want to say, a lion and a bull? That sounds right.
Yeah,
Yes. That's very interesting.
here it
Yeah,
is.
because there's a
Here it is.
lot. deep
here.
interpretation there. Okay, yes. And I'm looking at the world, and yes, it has all the different, each creature in a different corner.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Wow.
this card is represented in the Bible. Yeah, the
Interesting.
lion, the ram, the female, and the eagle.
Okay. Wow. That is very
Mhm.
interesting.
And there's, if you look up tarot and Bible representation, there is a bunch of things. It
Yes, that sounds like some some future reference work. Yes, I bet there's a lot there.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah. So I have to laugh when people start saying it's the devil, and I'm like, really? Because this is like Bible.
uh-huh. Well, there's people that say everything's the devil, but
Yeah.
um, you
I
know,
mean, really interesting to me. I mean, I have a deck of angel cards here too. That's
oh
all
really?
archangels. So it just makes me laugh because
Uh-huh.
it's all meant for good and self-care and fun and, just good stuff.
Yes. You mentioned your relationship with the Archangel Michael. Um, how did that get started? And like, would you care to tell us about that a little bit?
I think because I'm big into protection and I'm big into believing in protection, and I had this really horrible building that just had so many weird things happen. And sometimes weird things do happen around me if I'm not fully
Oh
grounded.
yes.
So I just call upon Archangel Michael. Archangel Michael is the angel that helps with astral travel and will keep you safe. So that's why I call on him at night when I go to sleep.
Wow.
And I send him to my kids because my kids live in Alabama and Minnesota. And so I call on Archangel Michael to protect my kids when they sleep.
That seems like a very good thing. Yes,
Mhm.
Um, have you ever had any other angelic experiences?
I mean, no, not like that. Oh, wait, no, no, no. I take that back. So Sylvia Brown has a meditation, angelic meditation that is really, really super cool. I used to listen to Hay House meditations all the time, and
Okay.
she has a meditation on Hay House where she calls in all the angels. And I was listening to this guided meditation of hers, and she called in all the angels, and there was this where they lay hands on you.
Wow.
I literally felt physical hands on me. It was the craziest thing.
Wow.
It was so
That's intense. That's
it was the coolest thing I've ever felt in my life.
wow.
Mhm.
That I've not heard of that before, but that sounds like it would be
It
a
was
real
the
life-changing
coolest
experience.
thing. Yes. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. That was one of the very coolest things I'd ever felt. And Sylvia Brown's been gone since what, 2012?
Well, it's been a while, yes.
Yeah. Um, and I learned so much from her books. Not all of them, some of them were weird, but a lot were fantastic. And I just when I hear her voice, I love her because she's so blunt and she tells it
Oh,
like it is.
she was, yes. A
Mhm.
very very down to earth person, you might say. Um,
And I kind of fashioned myself as that. Like, I feel like I'm very like, this is the way it is, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat. So,
mhm.
mhm.
I mean, she had, well, that one time things kind of went wrong, and you know what I'm talking about, I assume.
When she told somebody that their daughter was dead,
Yeah, that one. And
and
I think
she
that did her a lot of damage.
yeah. I don't think it did a lot of damage. She was still selling arenas. She was still selling casinos. She was still selling out. I think that her fans forgive her for a mistake.
Hmm.
Her fans will overlook a mistake. And that is that. You know, that is for the naysayers to go, oh, Sylvia Brown made a mistake.
Mhm.
Her fans are going to say, who fucking cares?
And I'll be honest, at a different time, I was kind of judgmental about that. But looking at it over the years, and we've had some time to consider everything, nothing's 100% on every single time. There is not a science that is. There's not a like forensic test that is. There's not fingerprints aren't 100%. They've been misidentified. DNA gets botched.
Right.
Nothing's 100%. If you get 99%, that's really great, but you never get 100 in this world. You will not get 100%. And so everything, is
And
open to having
that
errors.
was during that time where they were working her like cattle. I can't blame her. There was a point where her handlers and her people were working her so hard, and she was tired. Like,
That's
you can't
probably a
work
huge factor in things too. Yeah.
that hard. Yes.
You can't just pound it nonstop, especially something
No.
that depends on you being
People
together,
think people think you can just pop off with readings like crazy. It has to be on my schedule. It has to be with intention. I'm not just gonna like have somebody call me up and be like, I need a reading. I'm not doing that. That is not
No.
on my schedule. It's not with intention. Like, I need to be prepared.
And that, yes, you have to be in a certain state of mind and to be physically healthy and rested and together to be an accurate vessel, you might say.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just feel like they worked her to death. They really did. So I always felt bad.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's why some of her books were horrible, because they kept saying, pound out more books.
Just crank it out. Yes.
Mhm.
It's unfortunate how much the entertainment industry kind of runs the show on a lot of paranormal things that, you end up with much more of a Hollywood aspect than a real, like, respectful treatment of the phenomena.
Well, we had producers talk to me, my daughter, about TV shows a couple different times. And unfortunately, they're not looking for talent.
Oh,
They're
they're
looking for
looking to
the right look.
get ratings. Yes.
Yeah, the right look. And unfortunately, there's another, middle-aged woman doing a TV show who looks way better than me. So,
I, no comment. I'm just gonna leave that one alone. But
well, here's the thing: is she's flashy.
I
And
honestly
they're
don't know
not
who you're referring to because I really
for,
don't watch stuff like that.
but they're not looking for a, a, a Midwestern chubby girl to do readings on TV.
I'm sure there's a lot of it's kind of more modeling than really paranormal.
That's all I'm
ability.
saying. They're looking for the look
Yes.
and yeah.
And a lot of it, I don't know if you've ever watched the show Mountain Monsters.
Mm-mm.
It was not intended to be real. It was more just staged. It was it was staged. It was scripted. The shows were all kind of the same. They always almost caught the creature, but then the creature got away. And now I loved it. I watched it, but I purely watched it as entertainment. I knew this is fictional. This is not real. They're not almost catching this creature in the forest. That's not. They're probably not even in the forest. There's probably like a gas station across the street, But that sold so much, and it was like competitive with shows that were really looking for things. And that's kind of how it works sometimes, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I think so. And I think that it has to be the entertainment factor. And I think, we have producers talk to us several times about shows. Like I said, I don't think that I am what they're looking for that. So,
And it's just it's a lousy, crappy system to be very blunt and honest.
I'm fine with it. I work. I'm happy. I can put my own little group things together. I'm doing comedium. I put
Oh,
that
yes,
out.
I wanted to ask you about that. Yes.
Yeah. So I have curated that whole show myself. So I get up on stage and I pull people up on stage and I give messages from the other side, and it gets really intense and people cry, and it's crazy, and I've been doing that forever, but during pandemic I wanted to step that up a notch,
Yes.
and I just happen to know a lot of comedians for whatever reason, and so I decided to start having a comedian come on afterwards and do a set, and we call it comedium, and
That
it is so much fun.
that sounds like a really nice idea. And it sounds like something that would be just very fun, very enjoyable, and probably generates a real positive energy, you know.
You
That
really get a full show. So, people they don't always get picked, to come up on
Mhm.
stage, but they get a full show. We've been doing audiences of 75 people. We did the Performing Arts Center in Janesville. I mean, we have just been growing our audience huge, and it's just been so much fun. And people, by the time they're done, they're laughing, they're drinking, they're having fun. And it's great.
it,
It's
that's a combination I've never heard of either. You know, I can't think of anything like that. That's kind of unique.
Nobody else is doing it. And this business with mediums can be a tricky, competitive business.
I believe that.
Um, when I first started in this business, there were not a lot of mediums. There was two or three of us in the area, you know.
Hmm.
Now there's two or three of us on every block. I mean, they're everywhere.
Society has changed and it has really expanded.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's like suddenly 100 times more people that have true talent. Put it the
No,
nicest possible way. You know?
I agree, but I think there's suddenly 100 more people who want to cash in on something.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That,
Mhm.
yes. I have had the experience of had some people try to pull some wool over my eyes and I'm going to need another donation to do this and another donation to do that. And it's like, okay, man, I kind of
Those are
see where this
gypsy.
is going.
That's a gypsy tactic, and that's different. But I mean, honestly, it is a competitive business, and I don't like to join into that competitive part. I pretty
Yes.
much stay in my own lane and do my own thing. So I don't try and compete with anybody. But I haven't seen, and I do know a lot of people try and compete with me, and that's fine. Let them compete, whatever.
If you've done 25,000 readings, I mean, good luck, competing with
Well,
you.
of, but I mean, the thing is I haven't seen anybody try and do the same thing. So they're not doing the comedian thing. So
Mhm.
it would shock me to see somebody else try and do it, because
Oh yeah,
it's
that's
been really good. We have really gotten a lot of Wisconsin. We've kind of traveled around Wisconsin and done a lot of stuff in the area. Um, we go up north, we go up east Wisconsin. We've been doing a lot of stuff. So
Wisconsin's a fascinating state. We're a weird state, if I may say so.
I love Wisconsin. I
Oh,
love it.
same here. Lifetime Wisconsinite myself. And but there's a lot of things that have happened here and a lot of stories, a lot of just general weirdness that maybe every single state doesn't have.
Well, I mean, I have been so lucky to do psychic parties all over the state.
Oh, wow.
So, because for years I did psychic parties in homes. So I've been to a lot of counties and cities all over, and driven
I-
home creepy at night times.
That must be, yeah, quite an experience going back by yourself in the dark after having
Um,
just done that.
Rain. Yeah. like
Oh, I
at
bet.
night going through Kettle Moraine where the trees come together and it's so
Oh
dark.
yeah, Kettle Moraine can be quite a place.
Really creepy. And that's where I was like, I'm gonna see Bigfoot out here.
That did not end up happening though.
No, but if it was gonna happen anywhere, I thought it was gonna happen there.
Oh yeah, I know some people who just recently did an investigation in Kettle Moraine, and it's you get a certain vibe from that place.
It's
That's
very vibey. Yes.
yes, there's
Yes.
something going on there, and there's been stories forever about things being found and seen there that are quite something.
It
You
is
know,
creepy as shit. And, I drive through there to come home from a party or, be out in Eagle or wherever. And it's just like, oh my God, Genesee is out there, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you just come through that little area where it like kind of is closed over.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Oh.
You're in the deep dark woods at that point,
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah. So like I said, I've seen a lot of weird things in Wisconsin, been through a lot of areas, and thank God for GPS. That's all I can say.
Oh yeah. You got that
Yeah.
right. I couldn't travel very far without it.
Well, my GPS went to hell in Hollandale once, out
Oh
in the
boy.
country. So that was out western Wisconsin, and I drove around trying to figure it out.
Is that
So
anywhere near Richland County?
it's kind of Mineral Point.
Oh yes. Which
Yeah,
Mineral Point is a very interesting place. They have weird things happen there.
Betty
Just
White's buried there.
what's that?
Betty White is buried there.
Oh, I did not know that. Huh,
Mhm.
wow. I
So
didn't
is
know
her
she was
husband.
from Wisconsin.
Her husband is, I believe,
Okay. Oh, wow.
the game show host.
Uh-huh.
Alan
Huh.
Alan
Huh.
Ludden, I believe.
Hmm.
So she
That's
went to be buried next to him.
oh wow. Okay.
So I
Huh.
believe she is in Mineral Point.
Wow. As it happens, just did a podcast that was wildly different topic, but there were some reports of a vampire in Mineral Point. Like a guy dressed as a vampire who seemed to be able to disappear at will, and it was just weird. And the
Ugh.
police were chasing him, and then he's just gone, and things like that happened.
Well, there's probably some weirdo doing that shit out there. That wouldn't surprise me. What about that bat creature that people see like at O'Hare and then they've seen him in
Oh
Janesville?
yes, yes, the Midwest Mothman.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because he gets seen all over, like in Beloit and Janesville and O'Hare, and yes, because
That's yeah, that's an interesting one. That's a true cryptid out there. We don't. That's strange, very strange.
yeah. I haven't heard about the vampire guy, but I would bet there's some guy dressing up like Barnabas Collins and running around and drinking Bud Light. Who knows?
There were many people mimicking him, but this one was seemed to be able to like either leap impossibly large walls or just disappear. And I don't have the answers, but it was very strange. And like the police took it seriously, and people took it like this is really life and death happening.
Well, Andy and Barney out there probably have nothing better to do. Mm,
it's it's a
funny.
strange one. Um, I mentioned I wanted to make sure before I forgot or didn't to ask if you'd ever seen a UFO.
Mm-mm.
Okay,
Mm.
same here. I never have either. That is an experience I've
So,
not had.
and I drive a lot at night. I come home from, sometimes I do parties up in Sturgeon Bay and I drive up
Oh,
there, home, I go up to Green Bay and come home in the same night. So I drive a lot, like 3.5
mhm.
hours at night, coming
Hmm.
down 43, and I don't see a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I never have either. I now given I've always seemed to live around an airport, so I just blow off most of the lights in the sky. But at that's
Yeah.
I just wondered. I thought with possibly there might be a connection, and you might have had some kind of contact
Mm.
like that or something. But
No,
hey,
never, not at all. I
I'm
No,
fine with not having had that experience too. That's I'm just fine without that. That'll be okay. I'm
yeah,
not out looking for
I've ever had anything like that.
them.
So I've had clients who've
Oh,
actually
really?
had alien encounters, but I haven't.
Did they did it impact their life a great deal? Um,
Mhm.
and were you able to, like, I don't know, perceive something different about them, like in their aura or in their, I don't
Not
know.
really. I mean, I think that honestly, again, their third eye is just really open.
That makes a lot of sense. Yes, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Um, well, Jonna, we're kind of running out of time here a little bit. We should probably kind of wrap things up. First of all, where can people reach you?
They can find me at mediumjonnakay.com or on my Facebook, which is Medium Jonna Kay, or on my TikTok, which is Jonna Kay, or my Instagram, which I never check, which is Oh Jonna Kay. Um, I mean, I'm all over. So yeah, my Facebook, I'm probably on a lot more than anything else. The Medium Jonna Kay. Sometimes I go live on there and do fun things. So yeah, they can reach me all over my social medias.
Okay.
So
So that
yeah,
sounds fascinating. I've got to see that uh comedia. Comedium?
comedium. Yes.
Comedium. I've got to
And,
definitely got to see that. Is
well, you
that
can
only
come.
available?
No, I won't even charge you for a seat. We're gonna be in some prairie on April 29th. I have to book one in Fort Atkinson soon. Um, but we need to get over in Kenosha again too. That's something in Milwaukee. It's just a little hard to find venues further away.
Oh, I
You know,
believe it. Yeah.
yeah, it's tricky unless somebody tells me of a great venue. Then it's hard. You got to kind of go scout them out.
Yes, yes. There's always the logistics factor. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and I'm kind of like by Beloit, Janesville area, so I'm kind of in the center state line area.
Yes, yes. A little ways from Milwaukee. A good, probably two
Oh,
hour drive.
no, about an hour.
Okay. Okay.
Not even. I mean, it depends on what part of Milwaukee you're going to, but I'm 80-mile-an-hour girl, so it's not even an.
For me, it's about 2 hours, but that's neither here nor
Yeah,
there.
it's not 2 hours from Milwaukee, and it just depends on what part of Milwaukee you're going into, but I can get downtown in, I don't know, 50 minutes,
Oh, wow.
probably, because I'm right off 43. I'm in Clinton, so I'm right off 43. I can jump there in 50, 55 minutes.
Oh, cool. That
Yeah.
well, hopefully you will see each other in the area sometime soon.
Yeah, I mean, Mary and I do stuff all the time because I go to her studio in Brookfield. So, but my events at her place sell out really fast.
I believe
So,
that. Yeah.
yeah, I think both events, my May and June event, are sold out.
Wow.
So,
Well, hey, it's good to hear that you're reaping some success here in this whole thing. That is excellent.
yeah, I just have fun. I
Yes.
honestly, I don't take it all too seriously and I have fun with what I do.
That's that's a great way to be, great way of life. Um,
Yeah, it's hard to believe I've been doing this like 23 years.
wow. Wow.
My daughter is 24 years old, and there were times where I was like rocking her to sleep while I was doing readings.
Wow.
Mhm.
I bet she has some interesting stories too.
Didn't care. Neither one of my kids could care less. This is so they hate it so much.
Oh man. Well,
They
yeah, whatever your
go
parents are into, you're not going to be into type of thing.
Oh my God, go into Woodman's grocery store to get groceries, and they'd be like, "Oh my God." They hated it because people would stop and be like, "Remember when you told me this? And remember when you told me that?" And they just stand there like, "Oh my God, stop."
That is, I guess, the way things work.
Yeah, this is not like something that they're like really super proud of me with. it's a pain in their ass.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a generation gap that we all have to deal with. I know sometimes I do too. Um,
My son paid attention and watched how I did business, and he became a wedding DJ, and he has mimicked all of my stuff that I've done in business and done it 100 times better.
oh wow. Wow.
Mhm.
That
So
hey, that's excellent, you
paying
know.
attention, and he's done it better.
And that's I guess what we all want for our kids to have them take the next step, you know.
Oh my god, he's so good at the social media, and he's so good at, like, promoting himself.
That's
So, yeah.
cool. Well, hey,
Mhm.
thanks a lot for being a guest tonight, Jenna. I
You
really appreciate your time. This has been fun. Time has flown. Can we believe we've been here over an hour and a half? And yeah, I thank you.
too.
By all means, everybody listening to this, look up and see what Medium Jonna Kay has to offer. I think you'll find something interesting. Um, this has been the weird part. I am your host, Vincent Trewell. Jonna Kay, Medium, has been my special guest. Thank you for listening. Good evening.
Awesome. Thank you.